Of course, you want the integrity of your story, but within that, you need to bend and mold, especially when you're doing independent films. You've got to be willing to go, okay, we got to change that because we can't make it happen. And that's okay. And sometimes happy accidents or things that got changed become things that are way better.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Today's host is Jaclyn Whitt.
You're listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. My name is Jaclyn Whitt. I am back with Alexandra Boylan, and we had a fantastic conversation in our last episode talking about what she's been up to for the last 2 years, some hard lessons learned, and even just some advice for anybody who is feeling dreary or the pressure of like, I want to make a movie and the money's not there. And anyways, so let's actually kind of go back there because, Alexandra, you said that there was one thing that you neglected to mention. So why don't you share with us? Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, Jaclyn. Thanks for having me back. Thanks for coming back, you guys. Yeah, I do want to mention that, for the past 2 years, when I've been also stuck as an independent filmmaker, trying to raise the money, trying to get the meetings, I was like, wait a minute. I'm working so hard trying to get a new movie made, but I've made 8 feature films. So maybe I should start focusing more on getting those movies the most attention they can get. So I actually spent a full year probably trying to get relationships with platforms, building relationships with Angel Studios and all these people. So I spent like a year actually trying to make my 8 feature films succeed by getting on better platforms. So instead of like, I'm trying to make another movie, I have so many films that weren't getting capitalized on. So I spent a lot of my time in a year taking meetings with studios, taking meetings with platforms, building relationships so that my films got on bigger places. Because the more my previous films succeed, the more that will open up my chances to raise private investment or make another movie. So that's the other thing I've been doing in the last 2 years is actually becoming my own offshoot of my distribution companies by bringing them more places to house and show my films, to build the audience.
And it makes so much sense.
Filmmakers, it does. And as independent filmmakers, you also have to build your brand and your audience. So I want to build my audience, and you are building an audience one person at a time. When someone writes me on Instagram, I write them back. We love to hear that people love it, and we try to connect with our audience, that they're loving our movies, and so we can keep providing what our audience wants. And that's also your job. Another hat you got to put on as an independent filmmaker is to build an audience. So yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I spent the last 2 years doing.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of that. Yeah, it does. Because even, for example, like I saw Switched years ago. But then when you started talking about it again, I was like, I'm going to go back and watch that again. And so even if I've already seen the movies, like I've seen At Your Own Risk twice, some of your movies I've seen multiple times. And it's because you bring it back to the front of my mind.
Yeah.
And so, going out there and marketing, you are wanting to expand your reach and to reach new people, but even reminding the people who already love you, like, hey, remember me? I'm here too. And then you'd be like, oh yeah, I want to go watch that movie again. Because the thing about movies is that you are inviting people into the world of the characters and the journey that they go on. And there's a bonding experience that happens. And so going back to rewatch something, it's not always about, I want to see if I can figure it out. Like if a mystery, sure. A lot of the time it is about the plot or whatever. But a lot of movies are actually about the characters. And so you connect with these characters. So to go watch them again, it works. I enjoy it.
Yes, me too. And, a lot of people saw Switched years ago. And then when you and I did the workshop on Switched and brought it back, I had a lot of messages going, I watched that again. I forgot how delightful that was. And then, we are getting new platforms. We're now on Faith and Family. We're going to be on Wonder Project next year with Switch. So it's so exciting because also there's new people finding your work all the time that didn't see it when it came out. So there's always a new audience. And for us, 4 years ago, we released Switch 4 years ago. Those kids have graduated. We need to get all the new kids in high school so that this is their 4-year high school movie. So your audience is always available for more people to see your film. You cannot market it enough. I'm still marketing Catching Faith 14 years later. I'm always telling people about At Your Own Risk, probably why it hit most popular on Tubi, because I am out there telling everybody to watch it. So, yeah.
I love it. All right. I
Yeah.
did promise that in this episode, we would talk about the things that we've noticed in the process
Yes.
of mentoring people.
Yes.
And we've mentored more people than just who are in the mentorship program.
Yes.
Some people just come to us outside of the program like, yeah, I just need a little bit of your time. Help me understand this. But there seems to be some things that kind of stand out. And we'll start with flexibility because I kind of teased that in the last episode. But flexibility is huge. Like, let's just start with story, right? Just from the script level.
Yep.
Being flexible within the script. I know you're creating a vision, but if you're creating a vision for the purpose of producing it, if you don't have that flexibility, then you're going to be stuck having to figure out how to make something happen that maybe you don't actually have access to. I mean, my example was we didn't have the sanctuary in the church to have access to, and the band and whatever. And, so we had to change the script to make it work with what we could. But Alexandra, tell me about a time where you actually had to switch the script, switch something up in the script in order for it to work for your project.
Yes. Well, every single one of my films, you guys, if you looked at the script, you'd see differences with the movie. There is the movie that you write, the movie you produce, and the movie you edit. And you have to be flexible. You have to be, of course, you want the integrity of your story, but within that, you need to bend and mold, especially when you're doing independent films. You've got to be willing to go, okay, we got to change that because we can't make it happen. And that's okay. And sometimes happy accidents or things that got changed become things that are way better. And so I would love to share on my very first feature film, we wrote a thriller that we had a location for free. And the movie's called Home Sweet Home. And I am the star of it. And I brought in a couple of my actresses from Los Angeles to be in it. We're going to shoot it in the New Mexico desert. Here's another thing, you guys. When you decide to make a movie, you might not have everything ready, but you have to go. And that's what people always say. Well, when do we start? Oh, we need to have everything. I'm like, you might not have everything, but you've got to start and it will come together. So we decided to make a feature all in. I paid for it $10,000 and we had picked a date. We were going to go to New Mexico and shoot the movie. And I booked a lead role in a Mickey Rourke movie with Megan Fox and Mickey Rourke and Bill Murray. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can pass up this opportunity, but we were already sending our group to go shoot the movie. So we said, how can we make this work? How can you shoot out Lorena, who is coming from LA to New Mexico, and I'm not there? So we re-looked at the script and we were like, okay, the two girls who are trying to be her friends never find each other at the house. So we can shoot Lorena getting to the house, looking for her friend, and then all this stuff without me there because we never connect. And then we'll shoot the other people. And then we took a break and I came to New Mexico and we shot all my stuff. So, all right, originally me and the girl were supposed to get together and try to fight the bad guys or figure it out in the thriller. And after we had to pivot an entire script because I needed to stay back in Los Angeles and shoot for 7 days, it ended up being way better. We look at the movie going, how would it have worked if we'd actually found each other and then have to somehow accidentally not and then lose each other on a very small piece of property in New Mexico? So now we look back going, wow, that was a great problem because it's better in the story that we never find each other in the thriller. So see, that was us actually having to accommodate the fact that I booked a big role in a movie, but didn't want to stop or push our movie because we knew that if we pushed it or stopped it, the movie never would have gotten made. So we problem solved and it makes the movie so much better. And we completed our film. And so anyone else might have said, oh, we'll just put production on hold and I was like, we're not putting production on hold. We're going to shoot this with or without me. And you guys are going to go out there and get what you need. And hey, if this movie blows up and I am really in a movie with Mickey Rourke, that only helps our movie do better. So everyone agreed that I should go try to get this. I shot the movie. Unfortunately, it never came out, never saw the light of day, but Home Sweet Home did. And, But that's just one example. Every single one of our movies, we have had to rewrite the script, change something. we're very fluid and flexible, and we also have start dates, and we go no matter what. We do not push. I'm not a believer in pushing your dates because, oh, this might not work out. Everything's going to fall apart and you got to put it back together. That's just movie making.
Right. That's just part of the expectation. It's like, what do you mean we don't want it to? No, it's going to.
It's going to.
It's like when you have a baby, like there's going to be sleepless nights. I'm sorry. It's the reality.
Everything is, we were shooting when I was in Los Angeles and the team was out in New Mexico, they had a cold freeze. One of the coldest freeze in New Mexico, and the house really is out in the middle of nowhere. And the pipes froze to the house, and there was no running water at the house we were filming. And we just had to figure it out, like wash dishes by hand, go to a neighbor to go to the bathroom and take showers. We have a story for every movie that we have had to overcome massive obstacles, but the movie still got finished and made. And we didn't let that obstacle stop us. Also, you want a team of people that are like, hey, you might have to pee in the bush because we don't have a bathroom access.
Right. You can't have people that aren't going to work with that. If you're going to do that type of movie, yeah.
Yeah, we lost running water to the house and we had to shoot the movie there because we had already started. So I do think you have to you also want to build a tribe and a team that is also flexible and fluid and in it to win it for the movie and not going to say, well, I'm going to leave because this got hard. Everything gets hard. Stick to it and then make changes. We made so many changes, you guys. I made 8 movies. They are all changed from the script to the screen so that we could accommodate what we had to work with.
And actually, this, I think, leads in nicely to another thing that I noticed. And this is something that you say that I'm not sure that people have fully internalized. So listen up, guys. This is really important. You need to internalize this. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission. People will come to me with their script and they're like, well, is this good enough? Or their logline or whatever. And they're like, is this good enough? I'm like, okay, you've checked all the boxes. You tell me now. Like, it's one thing for me to say, okay, here's a hole, here's a problem here, here's this here, but like, if it's like, you've checked all the things, now if you make changes, it's just because you choose to, right? But like, there's nothing more I can recommend. And so then they have to give themselves permission to move forward with it. Or even when sometimes I mentor people with like time management where they're like, okay, I want to write this script. I'm like, okay, when do you want to have it finished by? And then I help them work out their schedule of like, well, how much time in the week can you actually commit to this? And so then we work out like something that will actually give them a timeline with expectations weekly so that they can accomplish their goal. And so one time I had done this with a student. She had a very quick turnaround that she wanted to make it happen. And so then I helped her come up with what she would need to do in order to accomplish that. And like 2 days later, she sent me an email saying, like asking if she could, push it another week. And I was like, this is your project. I helped you come up with your plan. This is your plan though. So I think, when you tell people like, don't ask for permission for your own projects, truly it's important for people to understand that like you are the leader. There is no one who is going to be more of an expert on your project than you are.
I love that. It's so true. And people do, it's kind of like that waiting to shoot a movie until everything is perfect, or waiting, for someone to give you that yes. You have to give yourself that yes. You have to say, yes, it's ready. And nothing is perfect. Nothing's good enough. You're going to go around a room and 20 people are going to give you a different answer on if your movie was good. And I think my editor, Lex Benedict, who's also a dear friend, always says when we make a movie, because she's the last eyes on a film, she's our editor. So she sees all of our mistakes and we're freaking out. And she goes, no, we learned from it. Next time we don't make the same mistake, but you can't go back and change it. So we work with what we have. And that's okay that you're going to make mistakes and we're going to have to fix it in the editing room, or we're going to have to pivot in the editing room. I think that's another thing for writers who become filmmakers. Your script is going to go through so many changes. And then the editor might come in and say, hey, you know what? We got to flip some stuff around to make this make sense better. And as a writer, you have to be like, okay, that's what's best for the telling of the story of your script. Things are going to change throughout the whole process. And as a writer, you have to open your hands and go, trust that you've hired the team that wants to make the best movie, that their suggestions isn't ego-based. It's we have a plan for your film. And we're not trying to, I actually love handing our movies off to the post team to say, you bring your brilliance to it. We thought we were good and you make it better. And if you try to micromanage everybody, it doesn't work. You've got to hire the people and trust them. And the same with distribution, posters, trailers, marketing. Your distribution company is making a decision because your distribution company does not want to make money. I've had them come to me and show me posters where I'm like, oh, I don't really like that. And then they're like, we're doing this because we want you to succeed, not because we want you to fail. So you have to trust that everyone around you is there to make your project succeed, and you got to let go of the reins. Sometimes you have to, but you also have to be the leader, like Jaclyn said, to start it and then be fluid and flexible to hold out your hands and go, you can take the reins here. Because I used to say this way back when I first started my career as an independent filmmaker. I used to say, find the best people for every job and let them do their job. Trust the experts in their fields. When I hire a poster company who is working on massive mainstream posters, I trust them. When I'm working with my sales agent at the time, who I do trust with all my heart, I had to trust him that he was making the best deal for our movie, because those were my partners who work in those spaces. I don't. I'm not building posters. I'm not a sales agent. I'm not going to American Film Market and selling movies. So once you brought your team in, you got to trust them, especially if they're successful people, you know?
Exactly.
So a lot of people don't. They try to micromanage everything. And you're like, no, I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't let the experts in their field tell me what was better for the movie that I didn't know.
Yeah, and it's a great opportunity to learn and expand your own knowledge anyways, because you're working with people who have different experiences than you, and they're bringing what they've learned to the table. And, I had to learn this myself when I was working on Bible college, because I hadn't gone to I had worked on other people's projects where they'd already written it and they had their plan for production. They brought it to me to do some final edits and blah, blah, blah. And so I was not the visionary of those projects. I helped to bring that vision to life on the page, but I was not the one. It was not my baby. Bible college, I was part of conception, in that one. And so the other writer and I, we poured our hearts and souls out onto the page. And then there was a couple times during production where things got changed while we were filming, and the other writer and I looked at each other, and he's like, "Should we tell them?" I'm like, I kind of feel like we have to let this go. We handed the vision off to the director now, and then even then, when it went to editing, and some of the jokes got cut, and again, it's one of those things. Well, this is part of the process, and we have to trust that the director and the editor, that they're working together to come up with the best possible. And that's not my skill. I am not an editor. And so if I notice something, I might mention it, but I have to let it go. I can't be pushing it. And it was actually something that God really laid on my heart, because I think I was holding on to it. And then God reminded me, I actually anointed him for that role, and I anointed you for this role over here. And you're both going to do the best when you are walking in your individual anointings. And so then I was like, okay. And that was really helpful for our relationship, because it's a series. I mean, we want to work on this project together for a long time. And so being able to, foster those relationships in really healthy ways where you can show you trust each other, that's going to give you the opportunity to have that longevity. Because if we just step on each other's toes the whole time, it's going to fall apart.
Yeah. And it might not succeed. I mean, I've told this story before that, Catching Faith was called the Elijah Project because it was based off my sister's Bible studies about Elijah's story of rest and putting the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on everybody else. And we love the Elijah Project. For us, it made so much sense filming the movie. For us, it was on the call sheets. It was the name. And then when we were in distribution with our sales agent and our poster company, they both came back and said, this name does not work. We can't sell the Elijah Project on the story that we have in the film, on a poster, and I was like, we kind of pushed back. And then thank goodness I was like, fine, I trust you guys. And they came up with Catching Faith and the poster with the football and everyone in the family is catching faith. What a catchy title. Oh my gosh. If I hadn't have let them do their job and I had said it has to be the Elijah Project, I don't think it would have gone on to become the top 5 consistent selling movie for the distribution company and paved the way for my entire success. And I think back to that all the time going, I'm so glad that I listened to them and I didn't say it has to be my way or the highway. And once we got rid of the Elijah Project and we went to Catching Faith, I fell in love with Catching Faith, and now I can't imagine it being called anything else. So, it's so important to trust the people you're surrounded with and to let go. Even if you can't see it yet, you will someday hopefully see why they made those choices.
Hard Faith Fest is coming to New York City on Saturday, December 6th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Producers Club in Manhattan, just 1 block away from Times Square. This one-day event brings filmmakers and audiences together for honest and deeply human stories of faith, struggle, and redemption. The theme for this inaugural New York City festival is In the Bleak Midwinter. Along with bold screenings, we'll host workshops led by industry veterans and our Pitch Fest, as well as an award show and an after party. Hard Faith exists to tell stories that liberate. Join us. Tickets and info at hardfaithfest.com. Please buy your tickets while supplies last.
Absolutely. And I mean, that does come down to choosing your team wisely.
Yes.
Like when I decided, when Jason Mundy and I were like, okay, we want to work together because we had seen how each other worked and we had a lot of respect for each other. And when he said, okay, we want to film Bible College like right away, like he didn't even have a script yet. And he's already like finding people for the cast. And
yeah.
I honestly would say, and I would tell him, if it was anybody else, I would say, no, you're crazy. But because I knew that he had the experience, that he knew himself, he knew what he was capable of. And I said, if you tell me you can do it, I'm in. And he's like, I can do it. And I was like, okay, that's it. Then let's go. And so, yeah, it happened very, very quickly, which is in a previous episode. But it was only because I knew that I could trust him, that he had the experience, that if he said he could do it, he could do it. And so even for you and other people that have made multiple projects, when you say, yes, I can make this happen, then the people who are working with you need to accept that and just be all in with that. If you're choosing to work with someone, you're choosing that you have this skill and I trust you. And then you have to, like you said, you have to let it go and let people do their jobs. And it is amazing when you do that, when you have people where it's like, I know I can trust you. For any film, Matt, if I came to you and I was like, okay, I want you to help me produce this film. I have this much funding and I have this script. And if you're like, okay, well, the script is too expensive, I will rewrite the script. Because I know that you know what you're talking about. If you tell me no, we can make it for that amount, I'm like, I'm in, even if I don't see it, because I know that you know how to do that. It's a beautiful relationship, that production team can have.
Amen. It is. It is.
Is there anything else?
No, I was just agreeing with you because I think this is a really important topic for people to understand that once you get to Quentin Tarantino and Steven Spielberg's level, you can be a hardball on things. You can be a hardhead and said, I have to have the desert with 7 trees. The sun has to be right here. And I have to have this over here and that over there. But when you're in the beginning of your career, you can't be like that. You have to be willing to bend and mold and change so that you can have a career, so that someday you can say, you know what, I think it's also very important to, you can have the things that you're like, okay, this I'm not going to bend on, but this I will bend on. And I've done that a lot where I'm like, okay, I won't compromise here, but okay, we can figure that out. So you might have to, as an independent filmmaker, decide where you'll put your foot in the sand and where you won't. And because I've come up as in such an indie time, like back in 2010, was so different than now. It was, we were able to break through the noise because there were so many fewer independent films going to market and Sundance. But I watched a lot of other independent filmmakers create a movie that I think could have been very successful, but they didn't listen to the market, the poster company or the this or the that. They said, no, it has to be this way. And then I saw a lot of films not gone on to get sales, not gone on to connect with its audience. And I remember watching that around me going, oh, I'm so glad that I'm listening to everyone because it's why my films are succeeding, as opposed to watching some of my other amazingly talented independent filmmakers not succeed because they would not bend to other people, experts in their field. And, I think also the more we make movies, the more you understand that you cannot chase opinions either. It's like what you were saying about waiting for permission for your script. You're just chasing opinions all over the place. Everyone has one. And I made a Home Sweet Home and I brought it to Albuquerque Film Festival. And after we had a sold out showing, afterwards, people kept giving me advice on the edit. And they were like, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. One person was like, I hate when she goes in the closet and the door and she's banging on the door. I don't believe that she can't break through the door. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't think we can reshoot this movie. And so I was like, okay, I listened to everybody's advice. Then I went to the White Sands Film Festival, had a bunch of other people with a whole bunch of new opinions tell me there. And then someone came up and said, can I tell you my favorite scene in the movie? It's when you're in front of the door and she can't get through the door. And I think that was such a learning process for me that once you've made something, you've got to trust what you've made. And until you go to market and the distribution company says something, don't chase opinions at film festivals, or you can send your movie out for notes or do a test screening. But what we do with notes is we usually collect to see if there's the same note from every person, not to take everybody's notes, you guys, because you're really just chasing opinions. And it was so great for me at my first feature to be able to go to 2 festivals and get so much feedback that contradicted each other that I was like, I'm just going to stick to what I made and put out what I made and not go reshoot a movie on someone's opinion. That's another really important note to give people, because people chase opinions too much and everyone's got one.
Yes, and it's so true. Okay, so then that also leads me to, this will be a quick one, but winning awards for stuff is great. It's fun and it does speak to the value of what you've created, but it is not going to guarantee you anything. I mean, you had Switched won the Kairos Prize Award, which is one of the biggest awards in the faith-based screenwriting. And you still got denied and rejected by every studio you went to for, what was it, 1 year? How long was it that you had to,
I think it was
pitch
a year,
and push that?
Full year.
Even with, one of the most prestigious awards in the faith-based filmmaking space. So awards are not going to be an automatic open the door. They're helpful, but that's it.
Well, I think they're helpful for our ego. I really think they stroke our ego. And I always tell people, if you want to get an award and you want to feel good, that's awesome. But that is not necessarily going to propel your career. And honestly, I didn't bring this up in our workshop, and I wish I had because I forgot about it. But we, after pitching, switched to everywhere. We won the Movie Guide Awards for the screenplay, which was almost like, hey, if we have such a great screenplay, why is everybody rejecting us? And I thought, well, now we're automatically gonna make the movie. And crickets after winning the award. Now, it was a blessing to win the award. I loved I got to meet Ted Baer and all these people. It was such a blessing, but it didn't move the needle for Switched in any way, shape, or form. What it did for us, though, was we felt confirmation from God to keep going when we were almost about to pivot to other things and go, maybe this isn't what God wants. But we won that. We were like, okay, God, we're just going to keep. And then we found the private investor. But it's so true. We've won a lot of awards that doesn't turn into an automatic green light. And I think you bring up a really good point. And it's the same for later. Like, if you go to a film festival, understand that film festivals, unless it's Sundance or the Cannes Film Festival or the big ones, they're probably not going to sell for high to buyers there. So if you go to a festival, know it's to meet people, know it's to maybe get an award and get clapped for, but you're still going to have to hustle that project to find a sales agent or a distribution company outside of a film festival, which I just like to set up people's expectations there too, because people think, I got to a film festival, my movie's sold. I got Home Sweet Home into Albuquerque and White Sands. I still had to go figure out how the heck to get the movie out there. So I had to go find a sales agent and go, hustle it. I didn't get anything from those except an enjoying experience.
Which it has its own value for sure. And then the last one that I want to talk about is persistence.
Yes.
This is not a career that accidentally happens. You
Nope.
have to be very intentional and put it on your calendar, like the same way that you would if you're like, oh, I want to become a massage therapist. Like there's going to be classes you have to take. There's going to be a practicum you have to do. Like there's a path in order to get there, and that requires you being consistent and persistent in your pursuit of it. And when it comes to filmmaking, it's even more of a demand because there is nobody that is saying, here's your next step. You have to decide your next step. Now, there can be people who give you, some mentorship along the way to help you to find the next step faster than you might on your own. But at the same time, if you don't consistently pursue it, like you said, nobody is going to come and knock on your door and say, hey, I heard you have a movie that you want to make, and I just happen to have money.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to happen.
It is not going to happen. No one's going to knock on your door. And I think persistence is this industry is a long game, you guys. It is a long game. And sometimes you won't see all the fruits of your labor for maybe 12, 15 years. I've seen fruits of my labor from 2005 that have showed up in 2021. So it's a long game. It's a long game. And this industry isn't just about who you know, it's how you know people. And one of my superpowers that my team and I talk about a lot is that I build relationships and I stick with those relationships. I continue to follow up. I met Frank at Walden Media like 4 years ago, and I write to him consistently. I have a meeting with him next week because it hasn't happened yet, but I'm going to find the right project with Walden Media. So you have to keep, even if you will be having that meeting that might not go anywhere, once the time is right, it's persistence on continuing. I just followed up with Rich Paluzzo at Sony Affirm. And I said, hey, Rich, just curious what you guys are looking for right now. I really hope someday I can bring you the right project. He wrote me back, told me what he was looking for. I was like, okay, I don't have that. But again, that's me getting back on Rich Paluzzo's. He goes, oh, there's Alexandra. Oh, yeah, you have to keep making sure that people are aware of you forever. It is not like a one email. I hope that they call me in 10 years. You have to be persistent. Be respectful of how often you email somebody. Make sure that it's like, or if you have something new to bring to the table, that's when you might want to meet with somebody. Okay, now I have something. But I do think persistency is key. And you can't say, oh, I'm going to give myself a year or 2 years and then I'm out. Oh my gosh, you're not going to get anywhere in a year or 2 years. I'm 26 years later and I can't even believe it. I'm like, where did 26 years later go? Years go. But it has been persistence. And when I get to share my next movie, I'm sure there'll be a ton of stories to tell you of, well, this person I met in 2019 connected to 2021 and then 2022. And then here we are in 2026 making a movie. That is how it works. And you just have to stay. And you have to love it so much that it drives you forward.
And I will say one caveat with that. It is important to have some good social skills that when you are connecting with people that you've only connected with once or twice or whatever, you need to let that relationship grow authentically and in a meaningful way. You can't just message them every day. They're not ready for that. If you don't have, unless there is something specific that you're like, oh, we need to figure this out, and you're actually working on something and you have new information to add to it, that's one thing. But if it's just like, oh, I just want to check back in, or, and be careful you don't overshare with people that don't know you, that can be a turnoff. So it's important to use your social skills while you're, doing this, and keep your emails short, because people who are successful are people who have a very full life most of the time, and they don't have a half hour to sit down and read an email from somebody they don't know very well. So keeping it very to the point, and I often will actually, when I send out emails for the table reads, there's usually so much information. But really, what I need them to pick out of that email right away, I literally will highlight it or bold it, that if they look at that email, in 5 seconds, they know what the email's about. Now, I'm not saying you go do that with all your emails, but it can be helpful if you know that I can't make this any shorter, but you want to give them a very quick overview of what they're going to be getting into if they sit down to read your email. You could either bold or highlight a couple of key phrases that will grab their attention. And then they will actually know, like, oh, okay, that's why I need to read this email. You're going to have to use that, like, to your own discretion, because if you do, like, more than 2 or 3 highlights in an email, that's too much, guys. So
I don't know. I just think it is wise when you're following up with someone that you have something new that you want to share with them. It's not, I mean, yes, for Rich, I did say, what are you looking for? But I've known Rich for years, but depending on who I'm reaching out to, I usually have a specific reason, whether right now I have funding through a finance company. I want to go reach back out to my contacts at Tubi or Walden and say, hey, you guys, I got the money. Are you interested? Or if you have a new marketing partnership or you have something that you have new that might entice them, I usually try to make sure that it's an update that also benefits a reason for them to want to meet with me. So if you have to go out there and get some attachments for your projects and then take it back and say, hey, okay, now I have this. Now I can bring this to the table. I mean, letters of intent go a long way too. Like, I just got a letter of intent from Fathom Releasing for one of my movies. That was so valuable because I could go back to all the meetings I've had, the investors, the studios, and say, I got myself a theatrical letter of intent. That changes it. So it's like, you might have to do some due diligence on your own. And then you want to make sure you bring that information back to all the people that you've spent all this time building relationships with. It might say, that's the piece of the puzzle I needed to hear. Now let's go.
And what that does is it actually creates a reputation that when they see an email from Alexandra, they're like, ooh, what's she got now?
What's
like,
she got now?
She's not just updating me on the last 2 weeks and how she got to see a horse while she was hiking. And I mean, all of that is lovely. But, for people that have a lot on their plate, like, they want to know, like, well, what do you got for me, right? And so if you are making sure that when you're making that connection, that you actually have something, or you keep it super short and be like, hey, I was thinking about you. Is there anything I can do to help you with your latest project? That's another way to connect with somebody, as long as you actually are willing to and able to answer that kind of a question. But, you want to keep your emails short. I think also, and this is maybe just my opinion and I could be totally wrong, but I do think a lot of artists are also on the ADHD side where it's like, I don't have time to read all those words. Please, can you just give me the notes of what it is that I am looking at right now? I know I don't have time to read long emails. When people send me long emails, I'm like, and then I just put it away for later. And sometimes I get back to it and sometimes I don't. So long emails, you guys, it's just, sorry, but please don't send me long emails. I'd rather just have a conversation if it's going to be a lot. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Thank you so much. This has been, I think, a very informative conversation, and I hope people have gotten a lot out of it and been inspired.
Yes.
I just really appreciate that you have joined with FAFSA Association to do so much. I mean, you are like a regular piece of what we're doing, and I love it. You bring so much value.
Thank you. Well, I'm honored to be a part of it. I love it. I get just as much out of it as hopefully you guys do, because I am so blessed by it. And I'm blessed by the people I meet, and I love what you guys are doing. I think it's bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth by being people who share knowledge with other people. And I feel like that's a beautiful thing. And it's going to only make your career, Jaclyn, skyrocket, because I always tell people, as much as you ask from people, offer people help. Say, what do you need? Instead of always saying, I need this. And that's what you guys do. You're offering stuff all the time and then praying that people will see that heart in you and then offer you what you need. So I love what you guys are doing.
Oh, thank you. I think it's such a blessing when both sides of a friendship feel like they're getting the better deal. So
yeah, I think I'm getting the better deal.
I know. So. Same for me. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Love you, girl.
Love you too.
Thank you.
Be blessed.
Be blessed.
Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. If you've been enjoying this podcast, take a moment to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast player so you don't miss an episode.
And if you'd like to support the production of this podcast, you can leave a tip at faffpodcast.com/support. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family.